For 25 years of my life, the second Sunday in May was trouble. Being the minister of a church, I was obliged in some way to address the subject of Mother's Day. It could not be avoided. I tried that. Mind you, the congregation was quite open-minded, actually, and gave me free rein in the pulpit. But when it came to the second Sunday in May, the expectations were summarized in these words of one of the more outspoken women in the church. I'm bringing my mother to church on Mother's Day, Reverend, and you can talk about anything you want, but it had better include mother, and it had better be good. She was joking, teasing me, but she also meant it. Year after year, I tried to get it right. Somehow, having had a mother and having known quite a few firsthand didn't seem to count for much. I had never been a mother, so what did I know? I did give it my best, I swear. Tried to deliver on the one hand, and then on the other hand, sorts of balanced, evasive sermons. Quoted a lot of big-name authorities, read sensitive poetry, avoided chancy jokes, and gratuitous advice. But the Sunday never passed without half the congregation thinking I was a hypocrite for not laying it on the line about mothers, and the other half thinking I was an ingrate for not laying it on with a trowel as to how wonderful mothers really, eternally are. What's a minister to do? Those were the words of Robert Fulgham, who also wrote, the famous book, Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Yep. So, what this minister does, I face the same challenges not being a mother myself. And I, early on in my ministry, exhausted the two things I had to say about the topic. So, and one of them was Julia Ward Howe and the whole Mother's Day for Peace thing. And the other was just my own talking about motherhood from my perspective as a non-mother. So I have established this practice long ago of asking mothers to speak on Mother's Day. And it's been just a most cherished Sunday of the church year for me and for all the congregations I've served. So I work hard to find mothers who are willing to speak to their experience and who I think have something really special to offer. So I'm pleased that we have 3 such mothers here today willing to speak to us. And we will start then by hearing from April Strittmeyer. Sorry, Strittmeyer. Matter? Mater. I'm going to sit down.
Hello. This is my first time up here, and I will say I'm duly nervous. So, bear with me. Mother's Day changed for me 5 years ago. I have to begin my mother's story with my mother. I love my mother. She is a difficult person to have a relationship with. That's not new. It's always been that way throughout my life, and that's impacted me. Because of that relationship, at some point in my early 20s, I decided I did not want to have kids. At the core of that decision was fear. I was too fearful that I would repeat the behavior that I learned growing up. And when I met my husband, when I was 30, my motto was "Cats Not Kids," and I meant it. Thankfully, he was on board with Cats Not Kids, so we dated and married a few years later. Then in my late 30s, things changed. Basically, baby fever happened. I didn't expect it, and it was kind of shocking, but it was real, and I wanted a child. Long story short, I had a hard time conceiving at that point in my life, and with the help of science and walking on hot coals, one day in an exam room, a reproductive endocrinologist turned up the volume on the sonogram machine, and we heard the best sound in the world. It was William's heartbeat. And everything changed that day. Mother's Day since then has been one of my favorite days of the year. To me, the day is a celebration that I have been blessed with the privilege of motherhood, that I get to be a mom, that I am called mommy, that I get to answer calls in the night, that I have been given the privilege of watching William grow, watching him learn to crawl, walk, talk, run, write, rhyme, tell jokes, dance, and count to 200. That I get to take off work to take him to a school field trip. Motherhood is hard. I never really felt guilt before I became a mother. And now daily, I am guilty. I'm guilty because I work a demanding job. I'm guilty because I'm tired. I'm guilty because I'm controlling and impatient, especially when I'm tired. I'm guilty because my expectations are too high. I'm guilty because my kid doesn't eat broccoli. I want so desperately to do it right. When someone close to me told me that it wasn't possible for me to be a perfect mom, I just cried. Like, how could that be okay? With such an important job, how could it be okay to not do it perfectly? I've had to learn to accept that I am a good mom. I'm an imperfect mom. I know that I truly do my best every single day. On the easy days when I'm present and seeing all the blessings in my life, and on the hard days when I'm filled with self-loathing, I do my very best to be the best mom to William that I can. To be the kind of mom I yearn for. A mother who is loving. A mother who is accepting. A mother who can be vulnerable. A mother who can be measured. A mother who leads by example. A mother who is warm and nurturing. Knowing how hard it is on the good days and how impossible it can be on the hard days has helped me to connect with some level of compassion and understanding for my own mother. A single mother who raised 2 kids on her own. She had to have done her best. On Mother's Day, I am filled with gratitude for William and the opportunity he has given me to love and to heal. William is my reason for this season. Lastly, when I told William that I would be speaking about motherhood, he asked me to share a few things with the congregation. 1, I love buying Lego sets. 2, I love looking at my son's Pokemon cards. 3, being a mom is cool and great. 4, I love turning on songs for my son. And 5, I love giving my son hugs and kisses. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from June Sidman.
Good morning. Good morning. This is my first time up here. So I'm from the other side of the mother role. This week, I said goodbye to my first cousin, Mary Ann, who was in hospice at the end of a long decline, which she wanted to be over. She is one of the only people left who knew me and held me as a baby, being 11 years older. We were both very happy to be mothers of our small children. Things seemed simpler in my time and hers, not so much media, comparison, and intensity. What I did not realize then was how being a mother does not end, and the changes it brings as time goes on are much more complex than I could have imagined. None of my 3 40s-age children live in this area. That they don't live here is a kind of blessing, since I see now my task is letting go. This is a major challenge for me now. I think of this letting go as not being so attached to what my kids do and how they do it. Not knowing much of what they're doing makes it easier. Each of them are forging their own paths, none of which are mainstream. At this point, no grandchildren, no spouses, and no corporate careers. However, they all seem to be finding creative outlets which do not run in my family of origin, nor that of their father. However, I do believe all people have creative potential, and I found mine in my 40s in painting when I could see the end of my ice skating career looming in terms of jumping and spinning. I can see how they are finding theirs through music, a bluegrass musician, a writer, and clarinet playing, which I find enjoyable to see and hear. At the memorial service for my cousin, it was clear that she had become the matriarch of her family, and as was her mother before her, whom I had lived with after my parents died during my teenage years. I don't want to be matriarch. I want to find another way to embrace my maternal role at this point. I want to have more faith in my children, which I did when they were small. I gave them lots of space and freedom to find their own voice compared to the Germanic environment in which I was raised. Lots of rules. I had to take piano lessons in order to have permission to ice skate, which I hated at the time, but I'm glad now for the ability I have now to play. At the funeral service, it seemed clear to me that in spite of her matriarchal role, Mary Ann's children and grandchildren really love her and will miss her greatly. I am aware how valuable she was to me as a role model of a mother. Yet, I will not follow in her footsteps too closely. I want to step aside more and trust that my children are finding their way on a good path to manifesting their lives. At times, this is not easy to do, but this is my goal for myself. Not giving advice unless asked is an important part of this process. Not easy. As a young mother, I had more confidence in myself than I do now. I'm not sure why. Maybe I feel more vulnerable as an elder and wiser. As a young mother, maybe my confidence came out of ignorance. At any rate, I don't want to give much advice because I could be wrong and my children might blame me or disapprove or reject me. This feels unbearable. As a young mother, one does not experience rejection often because the relationship is so uneven in power in most ways. At least that's how it felt to me. As an elder, I don't feel my children need me, which is actually a good thing. They are all healthy, smart, capable of earning a living, and kind. What more could one ask? I spent a great deal of time visiting Mary Ann's mother during her last years. She lived to be 99, and we had lots of conversations. She had been quite hard on me, but at the end, I think she did appreciate me. She had been a second mother to me, very strong in her opinions, yet with some real wisdom. As I reflect on what I have written for Mother's Day, it seems to me that being a mother has been the most significant thing I have done with my life. I feel good about it, and I'm grateful for the challenge that it continues to present to me today.
So, this is my son, Maurice. And we're going to play a really beautiful piece called The Vocalese of Sergei Rachmaninoff. It's originally written for voice, but because it's so beautiful, it's been set for every single instrument. So it's an honor today to do one.
What a nice gift on Mother's Day to your mother and to all of us. Thank you. And finally, we're going to hear from Nora Mulligan.
Now, I have done this before,
Yeah.
so I am not nervous. I'd like to talk about what motherhood has been for me. Motherhood is holding my baby daughter in my arms for the first time and thinking I will never love anybody or anything in the world as much as this baby. It's also being up every night for 3 months with a colicky, screaming baby. It's also working on scrambling to try and get daycare arrangements that work with holidays and people getting sick. It's spending hours and hours forcing her to do her homework, which she hated. It's reading to her. It was reading to my daughter everything from Goodnight Moon and the Runaway Bunny to Les Miserables and Tale of Two Cities. Just taking her to every art class she could possibly get. The ones that were in Peekskill and Cortland and then all the way down in New York City. It was going with her to the museum so many times that we each had our special favorite exhibits at the American Museum of Natural History. It was drawing with her at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was going to every stupid summer movie that opened. Movies I would never in my life have seen if it weren't for her. And I don't know whether to be grateful or not. It was taking her to all these different colleges and watching her say, "That's nice, that's okay," until she found the one that she fell in love with and went to. It was the pain of watching her suffer from a major depression that slowly eked out all of the life and energy and joy that she had. It was the worst day of my life when we got a phone call from her saying, "Come and take me home." And that 3-hour drive between our house and the college and taking her home. And the next day putting her in Four Winds, which probably saved her life. And watching her recover. And there's nothing like watching somebody recover who you thought you were going to lose. It was watching her fall in love with someone that I love too. But on the other hand, if Rose ever breaks her heart, I will hunt her down and kill her. It was helping her move, not once but twice. It was going to her wedding in Colorado, which is the most beautiful thing in the world. Better even than my own wedding. It's hoping for grandchildren, even though I know, given the circumstances, that's not likely to happen soon. But I would love to see it, because I'd like to do this all over again.
What a joy to hear from all of you. Thank you. And now let's sing once more. It's number 91 in your Graham book, Mother of